The Rising of the Shield Hero collaboration has just dropped on JP and KR. Victoria and Glass are going to be the 2 new characters coming towards Grand Cross this Tuesday on Global. So boys, if you're new, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, hit the like button as well. But jumping back towards the Shield Hero collaboration, this collab actually interests me a lot. This collaboration, the part 1, all the old 4 characters had already received Holy Relics. Normally when we get a collaboration, whether that be Slime, King of Fighters, AOT, they like to buff up the old characters, the part 1 characters, by giving them a relic. I say buff loosely because sometimes if you're Amelia, you'll get a relic that basically just reads as does nothing. Or sometimes it will actually go back and buff up the character's stats, or simply change the passive a little bit. Take Mikasa for example, her passive used to read increase all stats of the hero by 3%, limit to 10 times. When they changed it to 6%, limit to 5 times. So it's essentially still the same passive, it's now just easier to get. But this is not enough. It wasn't enough to make the character good. So for the Shield Hero characters, we generally thought they weren't going to get touched. I mean, some of us thought, hey, they might actually make an LR because that's the only thing they can do to make these characters good. But Namobo did the unexpected. They've actually gone out the way to not only buff the character stats to make them a little bit better, but also add on to the passive, which they've never really done before. These actual buffs are honestly, other than like changing the skills of the characters, this is essentially like a light version of an LR character. They actually made these characters a lot better, which we've never seen before in the game. And I think that just adds so much more value now towards collaborations, especially part 2s, which if you've been on the channel for the past like few years now, I always say part 2 collaborations are generally one of the best banners to summon on. But if they keep to this trend of actually buffing and kind of almost like reworking some of these characters, the old characters, the part 1s, the part 2s even, then this is a very good sign for collaborations. I mean, if you've been around since like ReZero and Stranger Things, like the collab banners are generally one of the worst in the game, where like now it's not bad. Once again, that's only towards part 2s. Part 1s are typically actually very, very bad, but part 2 collab banners are actually starting to be good here. But if you haven't seen the buffs towards the old characters, generally boys, these are like light reworks. Like they change how the character plays. Let's take Reptile for example. They actually removed the passive, which is funny. They removed her passive to make her better. But essentially before, it's the exact same, but you had to be, you know, mono blue, which, I mean, we've gone towards more like actual blue characters now that we're not doing light and dark. But in a light and dark game, we were like, for like the last like 2 years, you know, this just didn't work right. But now, boys, like you can actually use like any other team. Nafumi got a massive buff here. He was already very, very good, but now he's actually increasing damage dealt to his human allies and also reducing damage received. Also, as well, increasing allies' HP by 5% when he obviously is in a stance. It's like, it's actually so good. They've actually made Nafumi, who was normally a actual mono blue team buffer, actually a human buffer now. It's actually insane. And Athelo as well, given her much needed love here, where essentially now at the start of turn you're going to reduce the critical resistance and defense by 30% as a debuff, which once again counts towards a passive because she wants to have 5 debuffs on. So like the fact that she can apply debuffs herself now is insane, but also she can now crit more. Like, I can't stress how actually insane this actually is to rereading, because this is something that I didn't think they'd be doing. Kitsuna, since she's a PvE character, she's already kind of broken. They didn't buff her up. They didn't need to. But hopefully this is setting a standard about how they're going to be treating new collabs going forward. I really want a Meshoga Tensei Part 2 collaboration to return, because I want to get Sylvie and Rudius as a teenager or like an adult. Them two as like a part 2 would be insane. But as someone who spent, you know, a lot of diamonds and money on these actual characters, like obviously Ghislaine, who was one of my favorite characters in the game, you know, Roxy, for example, and even Rudius, I got these characters like Kai Dupta, I got the cosmetics. You know, they were good for when they came out, but obviously as power creep goes on, they become a little more or less useful. But like I said, if in a few months time they get a part 2 collaboration and they decide to buff up the characters, I now have 3 to 4 new actual characters that I can actually play with. Like I said, this Shield Hero collaboration, I don't even need a summon for Victoria. I don't even need to summon for Glass. I have a pretty powerful character right here who I've invested quite a lot into already. So I'm just getting a free buffed up character for free. But that brings up the question, are collaborations must summons? I'm still going to say no, because even some festivals aren't must summons, right? But when it comes towards the value for collab banners, they've actually gone up drastically. The value you get for summoning on this banner right now is actually insane. And let me explain. So firstly, you have 2 new characters. We never ever see 2 characters on one banner. The rate up for like a new character is 1%, which typically for festival characters is like 0.25. But then again, sometimes you have a chance to get the older festival characters. But if you go towards like Valenti, for example, her banner is terrible and she has a rate up of 0.5. So like the value of summon on this banner is like super low, where if you look at this banner, the value is insane. Not only do you have really good filler, but you also have the old previous collaboration characters. And I mean, this only goes towards part 2s. This is why I say part 2s are actually like really good banners, because like I said, the rate up is 1%, split between 2 characters, and the filler for like the 4 characters is normally like 0.3. So it's around 1.6% chance to get an actual Shield Hero character based on 3%. 50% chance to get a Shield Hero character. And of course, in this banner too, you can actually trade up the old characters to get the new one. So I know whenever I do my part 2 summons, like when I did ReZero, or when I did Slime, when I did especially the AOT one, you can 6-6 both characters in like 1,200 summons, 1,800. Like, I know Aaron, I got very lucky in my summons, but I got him like 6-6 in like 1 rotation because I got a lot of copies of him because he has actually a high rate. And in the actual old characters, I can just use their coins and trade up. And he normally give you free coins too. Like, we're gonna be getting a free Reptalia and also a free, Kazuna. So if I pull 1 dupe, I can just buy a Vittoria. I can just buy a Glass. And once again, if they keep towards that standard of actually buffing up characters, who knows? In about a year's time, when we get a part 3 banner, they're going to buff up Vittoria and Glass again. That sounds pretty good to me. But yeah, boys, that's going to wrap up the video. Once again, a round of applause to Netmarble for actually going out the way and buffing up these old characters in an actual meaningful way. Buffs or even reworks towards the characters and to what they actually wanted. But all I'm saying is, this is giving me a lot of hope towards other collaborations. I think the one I'm looking forward to the most is going to be the Slime rerun, where we're probably going to get like a Shion and a Veldora, maybe a Diablo. And it's going to be weird for Rimuru not to be one of the best characters in the Slime collaboration, because it's Demon Lord Rimuru, right? You expect him to be the best. But now that we know they're going to go back and actually buff up the characters, we can expect this guy to get a buff to where I wouldn't even need to summon, hopefully. Since I've already maxed duped him, since I already maxed him out, I will have a pretty powerful character. If we get a ReZero rerun, Echidna is going to get a buff, hopefully. Like I said, this is always speculation because it's not guaranteed. Maybe this is a one-off, but I think with this year, the fact that they've done very well with the last few banners, like generally every update they've done this year so far, it really feels like, boys, they might be actually in their pre-launch mindset again. I didn't talk too much about Vittoria, but on addition to the fact that they've actually buffed the old characters, Vittoria, for a 600 diamond character, you can easily get duped, like I said, because you can trade up the old festival coins. Her pity is so cheap too. She is actually like an insane character. You can see the CC ranking. She's actually among the top here, like next to LR characters, above Light and Dark festivals. And they also done like special treatment of like making her like a festival character. You can see on screen now actually, but like she's got that special glow that like Chaos Arthur gets, that the new Eras Melee gets, that Gopher gets, I think. They get that special border, and they only do that towards festival characters. To me, it feels like they just released a new festival character that has a pity of 600 alongside a other character on the banner that's also very good. Small banner lineup, which is what you want, so you can actually get the characters you want, and also reworked 4 characters. I mean, boys, to me, this is just insane value. So, boys, thank you for watching. Let me know your opinions and thoughts down below. Do you think collab banners are now must summons? I still think it's very subjective, because if you're not someone who likes to use unknowns, or you invested into the unknown team, just like how Gelda buffs up demons, you're not going to summon for Gelda if you're someone who uses goddesses, for example, right? But I will say in the past, normally I would say free to play to skip the actual collab banners, where this time, I think, you know what, spending 600 diamonds or even throwing it because you get like 5 multis for free and a couple extra gems, deal rotation may not be a bad idea. But who knows, maybe they decided to buff up the old characters in order to bait people to summon, because the JP anniversary is happening in 1 month's time. So who knows. Boys, thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.